One day, a 16-year-old boy went to his 83-year-old mentor and asked the wise one, "What's the secret of happiness?" The wise one took him outside and pointed to a tree. "Look at that tree," he said. "It absorbs its energy from the sun, but the same sun becomes too hot sometimes." Looking at the young man, the wise one said, "The universe is the sun and you are the tree. Any day you act like that tree, you will be happy." In his 1952 book, Return to Tipasse, the French philosopher Albert Camus wrote, "What else can I desire than to extrude nothing and to learn how to braid with white thread and black thread a single cord stretched to the breaking point?" The reality of our world is that it is the combinations of both white and black thread interwoven together. Many times when we are unhappy, it's because we wish the black thread was never there.
Hi.
Whoa.
Hey. Hi. Lion. What's automatic?
Back up.
To further explain the analogy of black thread, let me tell you an interesting story. It was December 10th, 1914. The time was 5:30 p.m. The 67-year-old Thomas Edison was just finishing up his dinner when a man came rushing into his house with some urgent and terrible news. A massive explosion had erupted at Edison's research and production campus, and 10 buildings were engulfed in flames. Shocked, Edison rushed to the site, but unfortunately the firefighters could not contain the fire. Edison stood there watching what he had built with his entire life burn to ashes. What would you have done had this incident occurred to you? Wail, scream, cry, blame other people, rage and fury, right? But when you really think about it, what can you do? Since firefighters couldn't contain the fire, what can you do? According to a 1961 Reader's Digest article by Edison's son, Charles, Edison calmly walked over to his 24-year-old son as he watched the fire destroy his dad's life's work. In a childlike voice, Edison told his son, "Go get your mother and all her friends. They'll never see a fire like this again." When Charles objected, Thomas Edison told him, "It's all right. We've just got rid of a lot of rubbish." Later, at the scene of the blaze, Edison was quoted in the New York Times as saying, "Although I'm over 67 years old, I'll start all over again tomorrow." According to this 1959 biography of Edison, written by Matthew Josephson, after thoroughly surveying the damage, Edison determined that he had lost $919,788. The flames had consumed years of priceless records and prototypes, and his plant's insurance covered only about a third of the total damage. As he promised the journalist, Edison returned to work, and while being interviewed after the flames died down, A.H. Wilson, Edison's vice president, told the Times, "There's only one thing to do, and that is to jump right in and rebuild."
You all right?
Listen to this. Edison and his team went on to make almost $10 million in revenue the following year. Now, imagine that Edison stayed there and started crying. Imagine that he had spent the following year mourning the losses of his entire fortune. Imagine that he was there looking for whom to blame. That's what most of us will do when life deals us a blow, and that's why we're always unhappy. We become frustrated each time we're stuck in traffic, even though there's nothing we can do about it. We mourn for several hours after we lose our jobs, even though that boss will never call you back. We complain, worry, and fight so hard with what we have no power to change, and because of this, we don't change what we can actually change. Hence, our life is miserable. In his book, Happiness in Hard Times, Andrew Matthews wrote, "The happiest people don't bother about whether life is unfair. They just concentrate on what they have." Now, here's the thing. If you really want to live the rest of your life as a miserable, unhappy human, simply go about life expecting everything to go your own way. And whenever something goes against your wishes, keep on flogging the dead horse. Even things you were born with, you get busy looking for whom is to blame for it. You see, I live in a country where everyone complains about everything. For example, I grew up hearing my father, uncles, and elder brothers always complaining about how bad the government is, how much money the politicians steal, and how the economy is becoming worse every year. At some point in my life, however, I started asking myself, do I have the power over what the politicians do? And the answer is no. Would my life be any different if I complained long enough? No. So instead of being bitter about who made me poor, I accepted the fact that I was poor. And instead of shooting the arrows of words at the person I thought was responsible for it, I decided to shoot my arrows against the poverty itself. So I asked myself, what can I do? Well, I can educate myself. I can understand how money and the economy works. I can fight hard to build a business and try to break the chain of poverty off myself. In her 2014 book, Shake Hands with Yourself, Charmaine Smith Ladd wrote, change the way you think and you will change the way you feel. By focusing all your energy on what you can change, you stop being a victim. But when you focus on what you can't change, you feel powerless, miserable, and unhappy. The concept of accepting life the way it is what German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche called Amor Fati, which in English means love of one's faith. In section 10 of his 1888 book, Ex Homo, Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, my formula for greatness in a human being is Amor Fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity, not merely bear what is necessary, still less conceal it. All idealism is mendacity in the face of what is necessary, but love it. In section 276 of his 1882 book, The Gay Science, Nietzsche wrote, I want to learn more and more to see as beautiful what is necessary in things. Then I shall be one of those who makes things beautiful. Amor Fati. Let that be my love henceforth. I do not want to wage war against what is ugly. I do not even want to accuse those who accuse. In a 2nd century Stoic ethical advice compiled by Arian, a disciple of the Greek philosopher Epictetus, Epictetus was quoted as saying, do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens the way it happens. Then you will be happy. While the idea of Amor Fati sounds as if to say we'll be happy if only we can fold our hands and accept anything the world throws at us, I think what Amor Fati means is that the acceptance of what we can't change gives us peace and energy to focus on what we can actually change. In his many self-help books, Albert Ellis talks about the tendency to awfulize or catastrophize the unwanted things that happen to you, and how this melodramatic reaction only serves to worsen your state of mind and feeling. Rather than concentrating on taking corrective action or making a pact with yourself to accept what you can't change, you allow yourself defeating ruminations to paralyze you. This is exactly what Spencer Johnson's 1998 book, Who Moved My Cheese, is all about. In Who Moved My Cheese, there are 4 characters, 2 mice, Sniff and Scurry, and 2 little people. Human metaphor, Hem and Haw. The names of the little people are taken from the phrase hem and haw, a term for indecisiveness. They live in a maze, a representation of one's environment, and look for cheese, representative of happiness and success. Initially without cheese, each group, the mice and humans, paired off and traveled the lengthy corridors searching for cheese. One day, both groups got to a cheese-filled corridor at cheese section C. Content with their find, the humans established routines around their daily intake of cheese, slowly becoming arrogant in the process. One day, Sniff and Scurry arrived at cheese station C to find no cheese left, but they are not surprised. Noticing the cheese supply dwindling, they have mentally prepared beforehand for the arduous but inevitable task of finding more cheese. Leaving cheese station C behind, they begin their hunt for new cheese together. Later that day, Hem and Haw arrive at cheese station C only to find the same thing. No cheese. Angered and annoyed, Hem demands, "Who moved my cheese?" The humans have counted on the cheese supply to be constant, and so are unprepared for this eventuality. After deciding that the cheese is indeed gone, they get angry at the unfairness of the situation. Haw suggests a search for new cheese, but Hem is dead set in his disappointment and dismisses the proposal. Back at cheese station C, Hem and Haw are affected by their lack of cheese and blame each other for their problems. Hoping to change, Haw again proposes a search for new cheese. However, Hem is comforted by his old routine and is frightened about the unknown. You probably know where the story ended. In the Bible's 2 Samuel chapter 12, verse 15, the story is told about how David sinned against God, and because of that his child fell sick. David started fasting. He spent many nights lying in sackcloth on the ground and refused to stand or eat, pleading to God. Unfortunately, after 7 days, his child died, and when David knew the boy was gone, he immediately stood up, asked for his food, and was ready to live as though nothing had happened. Surprised, one of his attendants asked him, "Why are you acting this way? While the child was alive, you fasted and wept. But now that the child is dead, you get up and eat." David answered them, "While the child was still alive, I fasted and wept. I thought, who knows, the Lord may be gracious to me and let the child live. But now that the child is dead, why should I go on fasting? Can I bring him back again?" In his 1933 autobiography, My Life and Hard Times, James Turber wrote, "In the pathways between the office and home and the houses of settled people, there are always ready to snap at you the little perils of routine leaving. But there is no escape in the unplanned tangent, the certain turn. If you want to be happy in life, you have to understand that your cheese will move. Sometimes when you least expect it, the sun will be too hot. Sometimes, as James Thurber wrote, there will be certain turns in your life. There will be black threads, unexpected occurrences, and things you have no power to change. Your ability to move when your cheese moves, to accept the faith you cannot change, and instead focus on what you can change, is what determines whether you'll be happy or unhappy for the rest of your life." Thanks for watching.